Enforcement Agency and the Narcotics Control Bureau of the Ministry of Public Security of China. No? The MOU stipulates both countries to enhance their exchange of intelligence, know-how, and technology sharing on fighting drug crimes, preventive education, and rehabilitation facilities. Let me point out that the 6.4 billion shabu seized was because of information given by Chinese drug agencies. No? Now, there was also a question on the statement that the government is the biggest endo employer. The government is addressing the issue of contractualization in the government service. The Civil Service Commission, the Department of Budget and Management, and the Commission on Audit have issued a joint circular directing government agencies to review their structure and identify their much-needed manpower. Under this joint circular, those under existing job order, contract of services, and memorandum of agreement will only be renewed until December 31, 2018. The joint circular provides the creation of permanent positions. No? The qualified job order and contract of service of workers may be absorbed by the agency to fill vacant positions. I was also asked to comment on the statement of Congressman Casilao, no, that the NPA may retaliate by arresting members of the Philippine government peace panels. We'd like to underscore first that the arrest of Mr. Bailosis was pursuant to a lawful arrest order. Now, as such, we should allow the legal process to proceed so that our justice system can take its due course. He will have to defend himself in court as required by law, and he will have to prove that he is innocent of the criminal charges lodged against him. The JSIG does not have any binding effect now that the government has decided to terminate with the peace talks. Curiously, it appears that Congressman Casilao appears to be privy, no, to information from inside the New People's Army, and to me, he sounded like he was speaking on behalf of the NPA with his warning, no, that government negotiators may also be arrested by the NPA. That will be a crime. That would be kidnapping, if not a violation also of the IHL law, no, because combatants will be apprehending innocent civilians. No? The peace negotiators are not combatants. I underscore that fact. No? And they're not facing any arrest warrants, and only Philippine law enforcement agencies and the NPA have the power to effect these arrests. So the NPA has absolutely no legal basis to arrest members of the government peace panel. It is criminal. It is a war crime. It is the NPA that refused to follow the rule of law. Having said that, the President is committed to ensuring the safety of the government's peace panel, and our security forces are ready to perform their mandate at all times. The NPA and the NDF are really serious and sincere in pursuing peaceful means to end their decades-long conflict with the government. Threats of retaliation, real or not, are detrimental to the cause and will serve no purpose. We reiterate our call to the NPA fighters on the ground to lay down their arms and return to the fold of the law. Okay, questions?
Question. Nestor Corrales.
Morning, sir.
Yes, Nestor.
Hi, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Sir, just on the South China Sea, an Inquirer story published today shows that China is almost done with its militarization of the 7 reefs claimed by the Philippines in the disputed waterway. Photos shown taken from June to December last year. Sir, what will be the next move of the government since China continues to be aggressive in the disputed sea despite talks of non-militarization and self-restraint?
Again, I'd like to say that the question is misleading, and I will speak closely so that we understand each other. Those islands were reclaimed during even the time of the former administration. They were completed, in fact, during the time of the previous administration. And I think, whether or not we liked it, they intended to use them as military bases. No? So, what do you want us to say? All that we could do is to extract a promise from China not to reclaim any new artificial islands. But what you featured in your newspaper today are old reclaimed islands that were there even before the Duterte administration came to office. If the Aquino administration was not able to do anything about these artificial islands, what do you want us to do? We cannot declare war. Not only is it illegal, but it is also contrary, but it's also because it's impossible for us to declare war at this point. If you have suggestions on what to do, let me know.
But Secretary Lorenzana, sir, had earlier said that China had promised not to militarize any of its existing man-made islands.
I only speak for the president. I don't speak for other members of the cabinet. Please ask him yourself.
Follow up, Philip Cabeza.
Sir, good morning. Follow-up lang po. Will the government file a formal protest considering that these are 7 reefs claimed by Manila and now turned into island fortresses by China?
In the first place, it did not happen overnight. I think the previous administration must have filed also a protest when it became apparent that they were going to be used as military bases. So, you know, when I saw the headline, yes, it's a fact, perhaps, but is that news? I don't think so. I think the moment that they started reclamation, they declared that they will use it, they will have military facilities into the islands.
Sir, one analyst is saying that this shows in construction, it shows that China would soon have de facto control of that area of the West Philippine Sea. And that sabi po ni Associate Justice Carpio is saying that this could mean the Philippines losing 80% of our exclusive economic zone in that area, or 40% ng fishing grounds natin.
Well, I do not know how to react that. That appears to be speculative. I don't think there's been an instance when China has curtailed freedom of navigation despite the fact that they have weapons in these reclaimed islands. No? So, to me, I can't answer on a speculative question. We hope not, because after all countries at their duty are under obligation to refrain from the use of force that is illegal under international law.
Last question, sir. Nabanggit din po ni Associate Justice Carpio that to rely on the good faith of China would be like relying on the good faith of a thief that's trying to get into your house. And doing so would mean like you're in fantasy land, not in touch with reality, and that's not real politics.
This is a democracy. He's entitled to his opinion, but I would expect that next time we would read his opinion in the form of a court decision, because that's the function of the judicial branch of government.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, follow up.
Or as I said, he could run for an elective legislative position if he wants to make policy for government.
Okay, follow up. Ina Andalong.
Hi, sir. Sir, just to be clear about it, are you saying that you are trusting China's word that under President Duterte's watch, China has not made any progress in its effort to militarize further?
I didn't say that.
But
We're
is that
relying on the promise of China not to reclaim new artificial islands and not to make further reclamations.
How about any effort to militarize disputed
As I said, this
islands?
militarization, if we can call it militarization, did not happen during the Duterte administration alone. It's been long militarized. And the question is, what can we do? And what did the past administration do? And what can we do?
But during...
We could, right now, the posture of the president is maintain close ties, so they wouldn't have any reason to use those arms in those islands.
What you're saying, sir, is that during the previous administration na nag-umpisa ito, but how about during President Duterte's watch? Do you have a guarantee from China that they are not expanding further any militarization efforts?
That's what I'm saying, no? That as far as building new artificial islands, I'm talking very closely, so there will be no miscommunication, and making further reclamations. That is the one that is subject to the obligation of good faith. But our position is everything found in these islands were already there when the president took over. So let's not talk of a militarization that happened under the Duterte administration if there is such a militarization, which China denies. But let's just say that the intent to use or to station military hardware has always been there, even before the entry of the Duterte administration.
Sir, when you say relying on China's good faith, does this still not go with any maybe monitoring system to actually make sure?
I think pretty much that's what we can do. Who says we're not monitoring? I get briefings, and I can tell you we know what ships are plying where. We know about the work. But the question is, what can you do? You can protest, and I think there is a protest already filed even before. What else can be done? Well, we continue to rely not only on the principle of good faith, we also continue to rely on the general prohibition on the use of force, which is found under international law. And we expect that China, being not just a member of the United Nations, but also a permanent member of the Security Council, will adhere to the prohibition on the use of force.
Lastly, sir, sabi nyo you get briefings, you monitor. Again, just to be sure about this, based on the briefings, walang bago under
No new reclamations.
Duterte's.
No artificial islands. No new artificial islands.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, a follow-up. Mike? I'm sorry, Archie.
Okay, sir. In an interview last week, sir, former Senate President Pimentel Jr. mentioned that he will propose to include Sabah as part of the country's territory under federalism. He said, we will contest our claim over Sabah, but in a friendly manner. What's the palace stand on that?
The palace has not made any pronouncement that the charter should be redrafted in a manner that would give up any Philippine territory. The language of the Constitution, be it 35, 73, and 87, provides for a definition of national territory. That's not one of the parts of the Constitution that the palace seeks to amend or revise.
Malaysia responded, sir, in a statement. They said it does not recognize and will not entertain any claims by any party on Sabah.
Fortunately, I don't speak for Malaysia.
I just need your reaction.
Well, my answer is there's a definition of Philippine territory in all our constitutions. It includes territory by reason of historic title.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Pia?
Sir, last week the president was saying that he wants the Lumads in Mindanao to move out of their ancestral lands and he would provide temporary shelter and stipend for them. Sir, may we know if this statement was an order? Is this a suggestion?
I don't think. I read the transcript. I was not physically in Davao because he asked me to attend on his behalf the event in Ilocos Norte. I do not read in the transcript that he asked them to move.